And happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Garage Gameday Sports. I am your host, as always, Louis Longoria. We're breaking down the Astros and the Braves Game 3 of the World Series. No tricks, just treats tonight. We're hoping for a scary good matchup tonight. Two pretty good pitchers taking the mound. Luis Garcia taking the bump for the Astros. Ian Anderson getting the call for the Braves. First pitch, about a little after 7 o'clock tonight in the ATL. I want to break down the game. Series is 1-1. Should be a pivotal Game 3 tonight. Houston's bats just came alive in that game too. You know, quick goldfish-like memory when it came to the Astros. Just totally forgetting about that rough Game 1. You know, we saw Framber get roughed up. Soler took him deep to start off the game. The Braves never took their foot off the gas en route to a 6-2 win. The Astros flipped the script, though, in Game 3. Jose Urquidy pitched a pretty darn good game. You know, gave up the 2 early runs and really settled down and helped the Astros get into form. They were able to bridge it to the bullpen, Christian Javier, and that bullpen held it down for the Astros. Altuve, solo shot for good measure at the end of the game, made it 7-2. So the Astros tied it up, heading back to the ATL. 3 games, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The bullpens are going to get some work this weekend. It's going to be interesting. I want to talk about the Astros and how they're going to handle the outfield situation. You know, in Atlanta, of course, DNL, no DH. So the Astros are probably looking at Yordan Alvarez in left field, Tucker and Brantley center and right, and McCormick or Siri, whoever's been playing center field, you know, is going to have to take a back seat, at least for this game and probably the games in Atlanta. You can't take Yordan and you can't take Tucker out. They're 2 of your hottest bats right now, and you know the series is tied. But when it comes to an MVP race, you know they're going to be at the top of the list. They've been 2 of the most consistent bats this postseason. You know, Yordan's gone deep. King Tuck smashed a 3-run home run the other day. They've been very consistent, putting pressure on defenses, on pitchers. They get on base, and Brantley, Mr. Smooth, Dr. Smooth, Uncle Mike. Just so patient, forces pitchers to works around counts. You just can't really take him out either. So I'm really interested to see in that aspect, you know, how the Astros handle the DH situation and whether they can respond. You know, whether how much production you can get from those 3 guys, because right now those 3 guys have been some of your biggest bats. The Braves bullpen. You know, the Braves, of course, lost Charlie Morton in Game 1. He's out for the World Series. It sucks to see. You know, we saw Charlie Morton as a member of the Astros a few years ago. Clinched that Game 7 World Series in 2017 for the Astros. And then we saw him pitch in the World Series last year for the Rays. So it just sucks to see him go down. You want both teams at full strength. And, you know, the Astros were already without Lance McCullers. Now the Braves go down without Charlie Morton. So you're probably looking at a bullpen game in Game 4 and maybe even Game 5. With Max Fried just pitching Game 2, Anderson pitching today. They're going to need some rest, so they're going to need some production out of their bullpen. You know, AJ Minter, Tyler Matzik, Will Smith. They're going to really have to step it up and give you some long innings. Luke Jackson and those boys. So the Astros is going to be key to getting to Ian Anderson, trying to run him off the mound and try to get to that bullpen early, because with these 3 games back to back, I think it favors the Astros, you know, in this dynamic. The Astros bullpen has been pretty legit, you know, the past few outings, and going back to the ALCS against the Red Sox. You know, Christian Javier has been pitching really well. Jake Odorizzi fanned 5 the other day. And then when you get to your back 3 innings, you know, you've got Ryan Presley, Kendall Graveman, Ryan Stanek, you know. It's usually Stanek, Graveman, Presley, but we saw Presley in the 8th inning dealing with the heart of the Braves order the other night. So I like that move. I thought that was the right call, bringing in Presley first and then closing with Graveman. You can always switch the order later, or you know you kind of want to give opponents different looks, and you don't want them to see the same pitcher so many times. You know, playing. Of course, if this were to go 7 games, it'd be 7 games in 9 days. You know, you're going to get very familiar with pitchers, their pitches, their command, you know. So I didn't have a problem with that at all. But going back to the bullpen thing, the Astros bullpen, been pitching very well. Phil Maton's been pitching really well. You just got some real production from them. And the Braves, with Morton going down, that's going to flip the script on their whole plan. They're going to have to really change gears and try to figure something out, and hope Anderson can go long and Fried when you do start him, whether that's in Game 5 or Game 6, if it goes that far. You're going to have to get some real production out of him too, and have him, wipe away that memory of that rough outing he had in Game 2. In this game in Atlanta, it's going to be the first World Series game, since 1999. The Braves won it all back in 95, so fans are going to be clamoring. They're going to be just up the walls. The crowd is going to be so electric for this game. It's going to be key for the Astros to try to get some sort of run support or big plays early and try to calm the crowd down, because this crowd is going to be insane. They're going to be wanting to see some action, And for the Braves' sake, if you're a Braves fan, you kind of want to see maybe Jorge Soler go back to that leadoff spot. He's been hitting so well. He puts pressure on opposing pitchers right off the bat. He swings for the fences. We saw that straight away in Game 1 when he took Framber deep, for that solo shot to kick off the game, and the Braves just really never looked back. So for the Braves, from their perspective, you want to jump on Garcia early. You want to get some runs across the board and get that crowd just ramped up and ramped up and ramped up. And the harder and the more runs you get across the plate, the harder it's going to be for the Astros to respond. And for the Astros, you're going to want some length for Luis Garcia. He had a rough outing the last game he pitched against the Red Sox. So you're going to want some inconsistencies, because he had a good outing and then he had a rough outing. So you're going to want some length from him, and you used Javier in Game 2, you used Jake Odorizzi in Game 2. But with the off day, you might be able to come back to them for an inning or two, and Phil Maton didn't pitch that much either. And I don't know what your situation is in Game 4. Zach Greinke could look to take the mound to at least as an opener, and then you can kind of bridge the gap, to your back 3 innings with your relievers and closers. But it's gonna be very key for them to get production out of Garcia. Have him go as long as he can and get some early run support. These games have been real hit or miss for the Astros. They either start out hot or they fall behind. We saw that in the Red Sox series. They gave up 3 grand slams, across 2 games, but in the first 2 or 3 innings. And then in Game 1 against the Braves, you saw Soler go deep. So the Astros can't help themselves. They either need to be ahead 3 or 4-0 after 2 innings, or behind 4-0, or behind 6-0. So the Astros really need to get their bats going, and it really needs the top half of the order really needs to step it up. We saw Altuve go deep, but in Game 1 he had a rough go around. Bregman's had a rough series. Correa's been struggling to find hits, and outside of Bregman, Jordan, and Tucker, you need more production. You got a big key hit out of Maldonado. He'd been, Maldi's been real cold. It's just you were kind of waiting for, he should have a big hit sooner or later. It's going to happen sooner or later. And, then it starts creeping in. Do you substitute Maldi for Jason Castro? And, you sacrifice defense for offense. And, we didn't quite see that to a large extent in the Red Sox series, but that's something to think about, obviously, in the Braves series. If it stretches out and you need some runs, you fall behind, they might go to Castro a little earlier than they want to. This game is going to be an interesting chess match. It's just interesting to see how they're going to handle lineups, the pitchers, the pitching matchups. I'm really interested to see how Garcia responds here, because Houston's pitchers and their bullpen have a bad memory, but in a good way, in the sense that they forget the rough outing that they had and they come back and pitch a gem or get you some key outs, eat some innings, and just keep the momentum on their side. So I'm really interested to see how this game plays out. As far as predictions, I know the ATL is going to be rocking tonight. It's going to be all sorts of crazy. Houston's going to have to weather the storm and try to keep clean innings early on. They're going to have to try prevent those crooked numbers from popping up in the first 3 innings, because if they don't do that, it's going to be a long day. I just like Houston's bats a little bit more right now, and I trust their bullpen a little bit more than Atlanta's, because they're going to start they're, kind of already taxed, burning Minter and Matzik the other day. They're going to have to use at least one of them today and, not short rest, but, maybe not extended innings either. I like the Astros in this game 5-4. I do like a close game. I think, they trade a couple runs early. You might see something like 1-1, 2-2 in the early going, and I think either Kyle Tucker or Carlos Correa gets a key hit late in the game to swing the momentum in the Astros' favor. I think they take it 5-4. It's going to be an interesting game. No tricks, all treats in this game. It's going to be a crazy atmosphere. I just look for a very competitive game, and I'm hoping for a competitive World Series. But I've got Astros 5-4. I think they take the lead 2-1. Then you got 2 more in Atlanta tomorrow and Sunday, and we'll see if this series comes back to Houston or not. But my name is Louis Longoria. This is Garage Gameday Sports. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe down below on YouTube. Follow us at Twitter, at Gameday Garage on Twitter. Like us also on Facebook. We've got different stuff going on all 3 platforms, so feel free to check us out. I will see you guys. Y'all have a happy Halloween. Don't eat too much candy. I will see you guys next time.